2 hours the night before, so it's not, I was not done like that. I was with her,
One of 2 things, there is no running around not letting it forward because it closes the street. Part of this, I want to close it out there, there's no light, so they're gonna move it instead into a.
Yeah, this is where well. Oh, so we're not adding.
And she, the only way to add it is if she comes here and asks us, so we're like.
Yeah, I know right where it's
And the
at.
next
It's
thing
right
is
at the curb.
I talked to Brian, he wants to move forward with us since we're in good shape.
For what? No.
Well,
No.
well, that's up to you.
Yeah.
That's what he said, he says they're just going to sit.
No, they're
We had
not.
concerns about that, but.
Yeah, well, it's.
Well, it's.
That's not an independent.
But there is a point.
No.
My wife's down there, I don't know the kitchen.
See, it's really like her, I haven't been with her ever. That's what I was fun with her.
Temp,
Like.
I'm showing 6:30 now.
Oh, okay, and better. Good evening.
Is mine on? Oh, there it is. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's city council meeting. And the first thing we're going to do is stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, can you do a roll call?
Turnbull, Morosky Brown.
Turnbull's excused. Borowski Brown here.
Carter,
Here.
Janetti.
Here.
Krenz.
Here.
All right, we have quorum. So first, I'm going to just read this, this is standard about our meeting because we're online and here. So this meeting is being live streamed as a hybrid meeting, option for public participation and recorded for rebroadcasting on the city's website. Members of the public may participate during the live stream as if physically present at the meeting. By remaining at the meeting, consent is inferred by those present to have their voice and image recorded and posted on the city website. Any questions? Okay. And we'll move on. And when we get to the public comments section, we'll have you go through instructions. Does that work? Okay. First thing is we're going to move for approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Support?
So we have, it's moved and properly supported. I am going to just mention that there may be something moved from the consent to here, but we don't do that until later.
Yes.
So,
And I thought the same thing to mention that the chief was told that we'll be looking at the traffic control order, moving that to business, but we'll do that.
yeah, we have to do that, right?
Yes.
So, so we have a motion properly supported. Any more discussion? No? Okay. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. So that's unanimous. So the agenda is approved. Let's see where we're at. So we do have, now we're going to go to public comment. First, I'm going to invite anyone here in chamber, and then we'll go to anyone online. This is for items not on our agenda. And I guess I can't say it's the one that isn't on it yet. So I will, the items, let me just go through so I read them properly. Items for new business on the agenda are consideration of approving the second reading and adoption of an amendment to the code related to lot splits. Also, a B is a request to rezone 501 Fairbrook Street. And then the last is, at least as of now, is approving settlement agreement with the police command. So it's a tentative contract. Now, I will say, give you the option that since something will be moved from the consent to here as it relates to the traffic control order that's proposed for this evening. You will have an opportunity there, but you can still do it here. So it's your choice. Anyone?
Lenore Lewandowski, 119 Randolph Street. So as Mayor Pro Tem Morosky Brown knows, I've been a regular audience member of the Planning Commission meeting since October of 2018. And so during that time, I've had the opportunity to get to know various commission members in action. Consequently, I was greatly surprised and disappointed that Jeff Gaines' position on the Planning Commission was not renewed. As an architect, I feel Jeff always brought good insight into any discussion. He often would ask for clarification on some of the finer points of construction details. He also had many ideas about how to make a project look even better. He was always prepared. I feel his opinion was well respected by the other commission members. And while Jeff and I did not always see eye to eye on some of the proposals and ordinance issues before the commission, I did respect his modern, fresh viewpoint. In fact, I went back to look at the meeting minutes for October of 2018, and Jeff, as a Northville resident, spoke at that meeting, and he distributed a handout to the Planning Commission titled "Missed Opportunities and Alternative Planning Suggestions for Northville." Sometimes he's much more progressive thinking than I am, but I feel like he's always respected the historical integrity of Northville. So I just like to take this opportunity to publicly thank Jeff for his service and expertise and hope that he continues to contribute to the development of Northville. And just as a side note, I've not spoken to Jeff. I've not spoken to anybody on the Planning Commission. I am doing this totally because this is something that I thought was important to speak on. Thank you.
Thank you. I forgot the timer wasn't set, but I think you were well under 2 minutes. So anyone else here in chambers? Once, twice? Okay. So now we'll go online. How many people are online as of now?
You have none in the phone waiting pool.
Okay.
And you have, I think there was 4 in climbing that are watching from home.
Okay, keep us posted on those numbers. And would you like to go through the process for, phoning in?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Yeah, if anyone is watching at home and you would like to make public comment, you can just pick up your phone and give us a call. The detailed instructions are on the agenda. Once you're in the phone pool, we'll ask you to press *9 on your keypad. That will raise your virtual hand and we will call on you at that point.
All right. So anyone online that would like to call in, please follow that procedure now. Give this just a minute, just in case. Okay, think we've given enough time for them to dial. So I'm going to close off online and close public comment, and we're going to move elsewhere in the agenda, move down the agenda. The next item on our agenda is, one thing, just want to update before I move on from that. We did receive 3 written comments that are also part of the record. They are in our packet, which is updated after 4:30. So they are there. We received 2 comments from on separate items from Jeff Snyder. One was on downsite security and the other was on the Beale Street Bridge overlook to be able to see into the park, as I recall. And then the other was actually on a topic that will be shortly moved to the agenda. That was on the traffic order, and that was for Mary Keys. So sorry, I didn't mention that. Okay, approving the consent agenda, we'll move on to that. So we have, we almost ran out of the alphabet this time with the consent agenda. So we are, as it currently stands, it is A through S. So we're getting there. So the first is go to the item that was been suggested that we move. There's item K.
It was
Item K, recommendation to approve traffic control order 2501. Requested to move that to business agenda so we could take it off K and put it as D, new business item D.
Mhm. Okay, and then the other I'm going to suggest, and we will be able to bring this back in a timely manner, is to council. So there will be no impact, on removing it. But this is item D, the board and commission appointments. There are four, appointments, affecting four, boards and commissions. And those have, omitted, attachments for each, as well as there's some errors and omissions within each of the four documents. So that can get cleaned up and we can bring that back in a timely manner, hopefully by our next meeting and certainly by the one after that. So,
When do the roles expire that are currently?
well, they're all either end of June or July 1st. And then what happens is for the Board of Zoning Appeals, so this is all dependent on when they meet, right, next. So Board of Zoning Appeals, you have 30 days. And so in this case, there's persons that it's a reappointment. And so there's no effect because I don't anticipate it being longer than 30 days. It would be.
No, and BZA is also canceled, I believe, in the next session too.
Oh, okay. Well, that even more. Planning Commission, that is just that you continue until the appointment is formalized. Both, and so, you know, dealing with a new appointment or the two reappointments, we should be able to handle that in a timely manner that, you know, and I don't know if both of their meetings in July are scheduled or not, but it would have minimal impact. Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, I didn't look up in their.
Next meeting is July 23rd for Brownfield, so.
Yeah, it's late, number one, and it's likely canceled. And so I didn't look to the bylaws on that particular provision related to the continuation after the term expires. Beautification Commission, that it would be technically effective, but right now they're doing work in the field. I will call Diane Pittaway. But
We do have a meeting.
okay, but
Yeah.
it shouldn't affect those people can still attend.
Correct.
They might not be able to vote, but it shouldn't affect your quorum.
Right.
So, so that would, but I will alert Diane about that. Just because I'm not sure. When is the next meeting? Do you know?
Yeah, it'll be next Tuesday.
In June?
No, July, the first Tuesday in July. We're done in June, July 1st.
Oh, okay. So I'll let Diane know.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So there's no, I'm not seeing an impact, right, in getting this,
What's the reason for deferring it though?
so, do you want to go through it with each one?
If we could, I just want to understand before we remove it.
Okay, and I'll,
So when questions come, I can answer why we removed it. from the
Right.
agenda.
so I'll try to be delicate in my response. So we'll first go to Beautification Commission. Hold on. So in beautification, there were 3 applicants. One was interviewed, the other 2 were not, nor was the full committee notified that they were unable to make that. There was not a second, usually we have more than one meeting. They had to meet on, any applicant apparently had to meet at June 2nd. If they didn't have that window, there was no meeting. But we didn't, but I know, certainly it was not brought up, there was any applicant that couldn't make it. And then it suddenly says that the board recommended appointing them. I don't see a problem with the appointments, but the minutes will not reflect that they were appointed. So I can go through more on that, but I think that's the major. Also, it has been standard practice for many, many years. And this, I'll just say this once, is that when you see these, it has usually it's just that one pager, which is common, but each of the persons being recommended have their application attached. It'll say attachment A, attachment B, none of them are attached, and that has never occurred before. So, but that's true of all four of them. That's they're incomplete. Board of Zoning Appeals. Again, well, I won't go into, there's multiple things in here, but the major is there's actually an inaccurate statement about the authority of the Board Selection Committee, which is a standing committee approved by City Council. But independent of that, we again have the problem that there's an appointment, a reappointment in this case, somebody that wanted to go for another term that was not interviewed, and there was no motion to recommend their appointment. Again, just didn't happen. Again, that person was unable to interview on that day. No second meeting was offered, so they didn't even have an opportunity to just say, oh, well, I can come in the afternoon or I can come on this date. There was nothing. So Planning Commission, the main is, there are some scribble errors in the number of persons that actually interviewed for that, but it is, the one is that this was a split decision, and it doesn't reflect that. What it actually says in here is the mayor pro tem. So they mentioned the three people that are being appointed, right? And then it is accurate that I did concur with the recommendation of Paul DeBono and David, and well, so two, but the third, I did not agree with the appointment. So, but as it currently stands, it says Mayor Pro Tem Morosky Brown concurred with the mayor's decision. And I did for two, but not the third. That was described during our meeting that it would require, we had never had one that had to be written that way. So it advised that it'll be there's not a template that had been created before to pull up. I'd be happy to work with the clerk on that, but it came out actually as I concurred with all three. So it was a delicate one to write, I agree, but it certainly needed to be written accurately to reflect that. There are other things, but I'm going through the highlight that would, okay. Related to Brownfield gets a little trickier. So in this case, and it needed to be documented for the record, it was written as though David Hay had a regular term on the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, and he certainly had served since 2022. In fact, he's served now for 3 years and 4 months. The term is, the term is just a few years. But he was an ex officio member on the Brownfield from planning. And so what was decided was that we wanted to separate that. It's the option, and it was discussed at Brownfield. You're familiar. So we were separating his appointment. So even though we were recommending he be reappointed to planning, we were no longer making him that he was on Brownfield because he was on planning. That's an ex officio voting member. We have a DDA member that's an ex officio. We have planning and what's the third? I thought we had three. DDA. No, is there three? Anyway, but this one certainly was.
The discussion was that they weren't actually.
Yeah, so we discussed this at the meeting, so we separated it. So we made that appointment no longer as an ex officio member, but as a member independent of his appointment to the Planning Commission. So, and in fact, if he had been a regular member, his term would already have passed. So so that was.
So I guess my question is, because I'll let others speak to BZA, beautification and planning. From a Brownfield perspective, though, why wouldn't we be just separating that one? Why wouldn't we be able to move forward with David Hay? Because I thought we had an agreement that it wasn't going to be linked to planning.
It is.
And therefore.
Right, but it actually doesn't even mention, it mentions that he's being reappointed. He's not being reappointed at the tie. It doesn't even recognize any in there that we're severing that, which is fine. It's completely appropriate. But that's the only record we're going to have going forward that we separated that. In fact, when this came up,
I thought the charter doesn't actually explicitly say. that it
no,
has-
it's
I thought
just,
that's just something
so
that
what
we-
this is recognizing is we made the
created.
transition. And it doesn't recognize we made the transition.
I don't recall that the mayor said they made a transition. I thought it was just that the mayor at his convenience could make an appointment from the planning commission or not. Not that he was stepping away from it or stepping to it, but just simply that he would make a recommendation.
That was the interpretation
what I
I
got.
came from Brownfield.
That
with,
then, not that
was-
there was an affirmative decision of any sort. From the mayor's perspective, and I had the chance to speak to the mayor briefly, is that I think he thinks all of these are ready to move forward. It's his recommendation. So I think that's.
Well, and I'm. Yeah.
That part is that. So if we're going to just, if you want to make a scribble edit and move forward with the Brownfield Development Authority, we can do scribble edits.
To some extent, if we don't do it, then the current member remains, which is David Hay. So, I mean, it's going to be David
For 30
regardless.
days.
Well,
Well, no.
but I would be
well, no.
comfortable making an edit and having David move forward as a representative
Okay.
and the Brownfield.
So-
I think that's consistent with what we discussed on Brownfield and
Yeah.
the mayor's recommendation.
And I concur with the decision.
Yeah.
But it's just, so, one is that under, so you want to turn to that document? You got it? Okay, because I just have this print. So see where it begins David Hay and then it has the three bullets? Okay, so under the first bullet, it said he was first appointed February 18th, 2020 to fill an unexpired term vacancy in the Planning Commission, which is, that's over in planning, but we can change that. He was first appointed and I have the date, but just say March. Do you want me to get the exact date? I have it. It's March 2022 as an ex officio member from the Planning Commission. So it documents when he started, but then it's, nothing here is, we could do that and that would at least document that that's changed.
I think, again, we're going back to the thing of trying, and I was city attorney. I thought that the idea was that the mayor could make an appointment based on the planning commission or not. And are we doing something that limits that by saying that this is an appointment? Or are we just saying that the mayor is free to make an appointment? It could be a planning commission or could not, and he
Right.
could switch back and forth between either one.
That is correct. The letter
That's
is correct.
correct. That's no, I'm not disputing that, George.
Okay.
That's completely correct.
Okay.
It's just that we're now separating
We
it.
don't want to limit future decisions, right?
So
Correct.
let me just do a scenario for you. So we need to make clear that we're separating this, that he's a full member, not an ex officio member. So if for some reason David Hay decided to resign prior to his term expiring, he would, if he was an ex officio member, that would sever, he would no longer be a Brownfield member, right? But that's gone. So we are now doing it. So even if he resigned from the Planning Commission before his term expires, he would still continue on the Brownfield. And so it's a distinction with the difference to just make it clear of why, that he's now serving a full term independent of
Does
that.
the mayor pro tem's proposed language put any restrictions on future appointments? Because if not, I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, no,
approach.
I'm not
Maybe
concerned
two.
about that. I just think procedurally, obviously, any of you have the ability to remove an item from the consent agenda to put it onto the business agenda. But if we're going to remove it from the agenda in its entirety or three of them, then we need to do that by motion.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
for
we're
sure.
discussing if it sounds like we're working towards allowing Brownfield to stay on the consent agenda with a minor edit. And I don't know, and it's just related to, I'm trying to restrict it to one thing that makes it a scribble edit to correct the date.
Did we want to move them all to the end and then just handle them one at a time at that point as a matter of efficiency? So
We're not going to be able to make edits to the others on the fly.
but you can pull them off the agenda and you can defer them at that point, right? I'm just trying to
You're saying put them on the new business agenda
And then you
we
can
can
address them
proceed with
all.
the rest of the meeting and then we can, as a
And then you
group,
can-
talk through each and
If there's an
determine.
item that needs to be
Be
deferred,
good with
council
that.
defers it at that point, goes to the next one, defers it, votes it, defers it. Is
So
that
you
better?
want to move them to
Move the whole batch to item
Like D
A, B,
to
C, D. It would be item E.
E?
Appointments, and then council can handle each one in turn and make a decision.
Yeah,
like that.
and
Is that a better way? Is that
That's
a
probably the
cleaner way?
cleanest.
so, yeah, and it would
E on the
be,
consent agenda is gonna be E on new business.
yes,
Yes.
Okay.
yes, and it would be like equivalent to an E1, E2, E3.
Yes,
E4.
exactly. They'll all be there in a row.
Okay.
You can handle each one at a time.
Okay,
And make your decision right then.
all right.
I'd support that.
Me too.
And then you can. anything else on the
Okay,
consent-
so,
Anything else on the consent agenda?
no, that was the only, so just a recap before we approve the agenda is that we've moved we're now moving 2 items from the consent agenda to the regular agenda. And so the consent agenda has been amended and that also will be amended. And that also automatically amends the agenda that we approved. Is that correct?
Correct. And then just vote on the
Correct.
consent agenda as is, without the items.
Okay, clear as mud. So, so does anybody have a motion for the consent agenda?
Well, I think we'd have to also make a motion to move the items off of the consent agenda, so I'll give a shot and then you can tell me if I'm messing it up. Motion to approve moving items D and K to new business and approving the remaining consent agenda items as stated.
Thanks, John.
To support?
All right, we have a motion properly supported. Any additional discussion? Okay, all in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So we have a consent agenda. There was no dissent. It's unanimous. Okay, where are we at here? So, I will mention this is that for anyone, either if you have something, a computer now, a tablet with the, city council packet that you downloaded or anyone online, late this morning, there was an updated packet. There were updates to the consent agenda, but also we've added like a presentation, that was not on that. So we're going to go to the presentation now, and that's, introduction of, is that right?
Yep, introduction of new officers.
New officers, right. So this was new, but if anybody wants to keep a copy of the packet for posterity, God love you, just, you need to download the current packet. Is that fair?
Yep.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council. Is that not right? There you go. Thank you. First, I'd like to introduce our newest police officer. To my left here, Tyler Chaffin. Tyler began his career here on June 2nd in his field training program. Tyler recently graduated from the Oakland Police Academy and he has a bachelor's degree from Ferris State University. When we saw Tyler, we worked aggressively to get him hired and we sponsored him through the academy. So that was great. And actually, during his graduation from the academy, he did win the MCOS, which is the Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement Standards, our licensing body, Outstanding Performance Award for his excellent work in the academy. So we're excited to have him and we want to welcome him here to City of Northville.
Okay, we'll be back.
Congratulations. And our second presentation is our newest sergeant. It's Keenan Sugg. Many remember Keenan was hired last year, actually on January 3rd of 24. And was recently promoted to sergeant here on May 23rd of 2025. Keenan has an extensive background in law enforcement, 10 years experience. So with him having the 10 years, he did very well and we're glad to have him on the command staff. A little bit of background on Keenan is that he, prior to Northville, he worked in the city of Flint and also the city of Petoskey. He has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Madonna University, and he also served 4 years in the United States Marine Corps. Over the past year, Keenan also had worked for Child Protective Services and as an investigator. And he's also a licensed paramedic and completed firefighter 1 and 2 certifications. He's also an evidence technician as well, and he just took over our firearms program. So I'd like to congratulate Keenan on his promotion, and we're lucky to have him.
Impressive. Congratulations.
Okay, we are very blessed to have a wonderful group of officers in our police department. So next item on the agenda is public hearings. We have none. We have no unfinished business, nothing official anyway, right? And now we're going to go to new business. The first item up, let me pull it. Is this Justin's?
Just stepped out 1 second. I'm sure he knows he's just about up. Bring up right back. Probably thought he had more time than he did. We were so efficient on that introduction. Give us a second. We can go to the next one, but that's also him. Serious. Police tracked him down.
Sorry about that.
Okay, this is the second reading for the second reading and adoption amendment to chapter 78, article 3 of the Code of Ordinances related to lot splits.
So this is the second reading. The city council approved the first reading at your last meeting. There have been no changes since first reading. In your packet, there's a red line version and also a clean copy. And just as a reminder, this ordinance amendment is to bring our current lot split ordinance provisions into compliance with current state law. I don't have anything else to add.
And just as a carryover, because we mentioned saving packets, if somebody saved that packet, they'd wonder, wait, you're just trying to authorize what you've done and it isn't, you know, blah, blah, blah. But that's not the case. So what you explained to us in detail when you stood to us before is that this section of our code was, I think it was 1993 was the last time it was looked at. There was a substantive update to the state law. Was it the
97.
Was in 97. So we had been complying with the state law, but it hadn't been updated in our code of ordinances. Is that a fair summary?
That's correct.
So, which is different than what was written, the summary, you know, didn't go into that. So just in case they rely on that, this is the true story of the need for change. And I appreciate what you've continued to do since you started going through our code of ordinances for things that require updates. So thank you.
Thank you.
That's it. Anybody else?
Yeah, maybe Justin, just give 2 sentences on what's changing.
So currently the code of ordinance states that the planning commission reviews and approves lot splits. Under the amendment, it would be the assessor and zoning administrator, which is I serve as a zoning administrator. The two of us would review and approve lot splits, and we would have the authority under the ordinance to refer a lot split to the planning commission for review and comment if necessary.
Thank you.
And I think the key factor is this aligns our ordinance with state law and current process, which seems like a reasonable thing for us to be doing. So.
And in the past, even recent past, within the past few years, things still go to the planning commission. First, you have the discretion. But the other is that if it's related to, there's no access, driveway access, things of that, and I'm sure there's other stipulations. And those have gone to, there's been several that have gone to the planning commission on those during this period. So, and that'll continue to happen, but it's more often something that's administrative.
That's correct. Or for example, if an application doesn't meet the review standards in the ordinance, then it would have to be referred.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this item? Once, twice? Okay. Online? You want to just,
You have no callers in the phone pool at this time?
okay. So let's give them just a minute. If anybody would like to make a comment on this, please call in now. I see nothing, so I'm going to close public comment on this item. and move on, and I'm looking for a motion.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve the second reading and adopt the amendment to chapter 78, article 3 of the Code of Ordinances, lot splits.
I will support it.
So we have a motion properly supported. Any discussion? None? Okay, all those in favor, say yes,
Yes.
Yes.
and a yes. So that's unanimous. Thank you very much, Justin. And you are up next, I
Go
believe.
anywhere.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is a zoning map amendment as different from our general code. This is the first reading to rezone 501 Fairbrook Street from R3 to R2.
So the planning commission held the public hearing on this at their June 3rd meeting and recommended approval unanimously of the rezoning request. The property is currently zoned R3, third density residential. This is a residential down zoning request to R2, which is single family mixed, or second density residential, which is single family mixed with duplex. That's consistent with the master plan. It's also compliant with all the standards in the zoning ordinance for rezoning. The applicant intends to, if they are successful in their rezoning application, to divide the parcel to build a new single family house on the new property.
Questions?
Just to clarify, the commissioners recommended approval of the request, correct?
Correct.
And as you noted, the applicant intends to apply for a land division to construct a single family home.
Correct.
And if I recall from planning commission, I think some of this was related to setbacks and things.
It is. The R2 zoning district has a different minimum lot size and it's less stringent than R3. So if the rezoning is approved, the new parcel and dwelling on that parcel would be compliant with zoning. Otherwise, they would need to pursue a variance from the Board of Zoning Appeals, which wouldn't be successful.
Yeah. And this is consistent with the type of housing they want, residential that they
It
want
is.
to build. Okay.
It's consistent with the master plan, consistent with adjacent uses. I believe the resident lives in the home of the first mayor as well, or that home was the home of the first mayor of Northville. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yep.
Oh,
Don't live there anymore.
Right.
I bought it from the state 35 years ago.
So there is some historic provenance on the property, which is worth, yep, which is a great
Yeah.
win for the city. So thank you if this gets through.
yeah. And I would like to welcome, if the landowner would like to say anything, you can come to the microphone. You're welcome to, because it's different.
Don't have to.
I'm digressing.
So we were going to tear down and build.
Yeah, we can't. It's just for the record. Thank you.
And we decided
Oh.
to, or we went through the home and it was worth saving. So the R3 is very prohibitive because it's medium density condo buildings, condos and so on. And you know, when they split the lot with the Northville Labs, he established that business 100 years ago. They did it in a real wacky way. Because he walked out his back door to work. The building was in the parking lot. He literally had a path to his door. So anyhow, we're really looking forward to it, and we've got a great plan, and we're starting. You know, we're doing phase 1 of it, and as long as we can get through this, we can get phase 2. So
Oh, well, thank you for sharing that. And
thank you.
what, your name and address for the record?
Michael Rowan, 516 Randolph.
Okay, thank you for sharing and investing in Northville.
Justin, is there any undue burden based on R2 or R2 plus SLUs that, you know, surrounding landowners would need to be concerned with? I don't think so, but
There's not. It's actually a less intensive zoning district. So in terms of impacts to surrounding properties, it would be less if it
Mhm.
were to be developed. Under the current zoning, there could be, if it was compliant, multiple family, a congregate care nursing facility. R2 is much less intensive than R3.
and planning commission didn't discover anything like right of way for driveways or utility access or any issues. This should be.
No, the new
all fine.
parcel should be fully compliant with the zoning ordinance.
Yes, that's all I have. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any public comments?
Yeah, good. So I'm going to open this for public comment. Would anybody like to address us on this issue? in the chamber? No? Anyone online that would like to comment on this issue of this zoning change? Going once, going twice. Done. Okay, so I'm going to close public comment on this. Looking for a motion.
Yep, Mayor Pro Tem, I move to introduce for the first reading the proposed zoning map amendment to rezone 501 Fairbrook Street from R3, third density residential, to R2, second density residential, with second reading and possible adoption scheduled for July 7th, 2025.
Support.
Okay, motion properly supported. Any discussion? None? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Believe that's unanimous. So motion passes. Let's go. There you go, first step. Okay, next we're going to move to item C, which is looking to approve a settlement agreement with Police Command, MAP. Help me with the.
Yep, Michigan Association of Police.
Okay, and we have a tentative contract. Congratulations. So would you like to? Yep.
Yep, so this is our fourth, the city of Northville has 4 labor unions, all of them expired at the same time, January 1 expiration. This one took a little bit of time to work through. All of the 3 have expired. This one is basically along the same parameters in terms of duration. It's a 4-year contract and largely matches what council saw for the prior 3 contracts. And we are recommending approval. This applies to command officers in the police department, sworn officers only. There's 3 sergeants, and that's what this applies to. So recommending approval. Want to thank the chief and the bargaining team on both sides for the union and for the city in getting this done. It took a bit of work, but we worked through it all.
Okay, thank you, George.
Yep.
Would you like? It's up, I don't know if the chief wanted to say anything in addition. It's up to him.
Sure.
I don't have much to say. I just wanted to thank the city manager for obviously work on this, and we were able to get everything done, which was good. And it's a very good contract. Both contracts are excellent, especially for recruiting and retention as well. So.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm gonna now open this for public comment. Anyone here in the room that would like to make a comment on this issue? Seeing no one, I'm going to move online. Anyone online would like to make a comment on this contract? Seeing none, I'm going to close public comment. And I'm looking for a motion.
All right. I move to approve the settlement agreement between the city of Northville and MAP effective January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2028 as presented.
I'll support. Yeah, we have a motion properly supported. Any discussion? None? Okay, so everyone in favor say yes.
Yes.
I'm a yes. So this, if I heard correctly, this passed unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to move on to the new item D. This is moved from consent agenda. This is also an item that we had a letter, a written comment. So clerk, when you file this, if you could move the, I guess, mention of the public, the comment, under there. So was one comment received. So this is about traffic control order number 2501, no parking, 55 feet east of the driveway located at 507 West Main Street.
Good evening again, Mayor Pro Tem and members of City Council. Tonight before you is a traffic control order to add a no parking sign in your described location, which is 55 feet of 507 West Main. Recently, we had a vehicle electric scooter accident, which kind of brought this to light. While investigating that, there was some different issues that were brought up, but more importantly in this area, it's just east of Old Village School. And there's a lot of parents that do drop off and pick up there. In that area, there are line parking spaces, And just west of that location has some old parking lines that were faded and I think painted over at one time, but maybe come to light. And parents were parking there during that time. So there was some vision issues as well when that person was pulling in the driveway, which again kind of brought this to the forefront. After this incident occurred, we looked at it, looked at a couple different things. We immediately put up temporary no parking signs until we can get this in front of you to make sure this doesn't happen again. And, you know, this could happen anywhere in the city, any residential area, pulling into a driveway on the sidewalk. Both people have to be paying attention when they come in, but which leads a little more light to this is that we have the school right there. We have a lot of students coming and going from that location. So I feel that adding this sign is appropriate to make sure no one parks there, and visibility is definitely enhanced there for people either entering the driveway or kids going to and from the school at either pick up or drop off. So the order will allow to place that sign, which is a no parking sign with the also the addendum underneath it, this side of sign from that location to the driveway, which will prohibit anyone from parking there. And just so you know, before making this decision, I did run it by TIA, the Traffic Improvement Association. They agree with it. And it's also part of our, I believe that is the pedestrian study that's done by F&V, and they had recommended some different recommendations, and this was one of them there as well at Main and Linden to keep that intersection open. And so obviously that sign would also prevent vehicles from parking within the T intersection as well.
Chief, if we had any conversations with the school about, and for the record, I fully support the signage,
Yes.
but about assessing whether or not the pickup and drop off being on Main Street versus in the lot behind the school
Yes.
is the
My
optimal
question,
location.
that lot should be sufficient.
We have had several. There have been some complaints over the years regarding that area with drop off and pickup. We tried to get it back as well. But it's very hard for the school to control the parents. They can drop off out front too. So it has been done.
So they said they could, or they said they couldn't?
Well, part of it is they would, and going back, I don't remember 100%, but
Right.
you know, I think maybe they try to get parents to go in the back,
Okay.
but I guess they can't really make them either. So parents can pull in front as well, but I know that's been a complaint from residents in the area as well.
It might be worth, so as a resident on Main, I can tell you during pickup and drop off, it is a chaotic environment, which you'd expect.
Sure.
It's a school drop off, but it might be worth revisiting with the school and seeing if there is something we could work through with them, because I feel like it's a when, not if type situation, and this is going to happen again. So if there's a way they could work with the parents recognizing the risk associated and establish a safer drop off, I would like to think that most parents would jump to that opportunity, but
Sure.
I also, maybe there's another root cause here is let's say the significant uptick on high-speed scooters for kids.
Yes.
And these kids do not understand the traffic laws in many instances, and they're on main roads and sidewalks going well beyond bike speeds. And maybe drivers aren't accustomed to that. Is there something we can do on messaging through Courtney and other stuff to maybe give the parents a heads up that?
Well, I could tell you, we're already ahead of the game on that. So I have one of my sergeants, Sergeant Sorella, and our school officer, Pat Limber. They actually be doing a video series that we're gonna be putting out on Facebook that talks about the laws and the bikes as well, and what kids can and can't do and can't
Perfect.
ride.
That's,
So that should be coming out shortly, because we've seen a huge uptick in that, and
It's not just North,
those things are
everywhere.
fast.
It's
And
everywhere.
when you see the how fast those things can go and the closing time on a vehicle, sometimes you don't expect them to be going that fast.
Yep.
And so it's important that the children and parents understand the dangers of those electric vehicles as well. And so we hope to get that out here soon. But I think it's like anything else. The law is trying to catch up to, you know, it's hard to catch up to the current technology. So that's kind of what we're facing right now.
and it's, well, if I just following up from that is that it's electric bikes, it's
Scooters.
electric scooters. And also, in fact, just as I was walking here across the street, there was somebody, what do you call those where you just stand on them?
Unit wheels or.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And they were just
Yeah.
booking down the street. So
And there's actually electric dirt bikes now that we're seeing quite a bit here in the city as
I
well.
can hear them when they go down high. They just.
Yeah. And there's, I think people would be surprised to hear the laws of those as well. So they're not always legal to ride on, so.
What about those
I feel like
golf
that needs to get
carts?
socialized.
Yeah.
Have you been seeing the golf cart uptick again? It happens every summer.
Every once in a
I
while.
haven't seen them yet, but
Yes.
we'll keep an eye.
Yeah.
out.
I was like, wait, what's that?
Right.
Oh, there it goes. Going down Main Street.
Something to communicate because it's
Mhm.
endemic right now.
Yeah.
And something's gonna happen.
Yeah, so hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll have those videos out.
So
Yeah.
you were already ahead of the game because just like it was mentioned here, I mean, guidance in the community to understand what to do, for safety.
Sure.
And also the discussion on schools. I think this has been a long-standing problem,
Yes.
years. And it became more pronounced once once the building was changed, because before they'd have that parking lot, and then of course the school sold that off. So there isn't that even as a relief valve like before, because it wasn't a huge parking lot, but it did cover some. So on that, so I think having a conversation with the schools again, and I guess at what point is there too much of a risk because of the choice the school's using? Is, to allow both, because they have their internal guidance to parents. They do it at each of the schools. All the elementaries have, where can you pick them up? How do you drop them off? And so this should be no different. And at some point, if this continues, and I would expect, even though we're remedying something to improve the safety, we're not remedying the problem of this chaotic.
I'm not aware of any other school nearby where kids would cross a main thoroughfare to get to their parents' cars. If you look at every other school, it's contained.
Right.
But
So-
this is the youngest kids and it's chaotic. It's extraordinary that it's.
And so I guess at one point, if it continues without that school control for a parent drop-off pickup, can we require them to have some sort of crossing guard out safety? But I think it's not a narrow window, so I'm not sure what even that window would be.
Yeah, they got half-day preschool, they got
Right.
kindergarten, they
There's a lot
got,
of
it is ongoing.
Yeah.
And I think holistically, the schools have been a great partner in a lot of different initiatives and areas. So
Yeah.
I'm confident we can sit down with them and revisit this and hopefully come to a.
Oh, I would hope so. Yeah. Yeah. So you'll keep us posted.
Yep, so I'll have our school officer reach out to them tomorrow.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks, Chief.
So this is another step towards that. So, all right. Thank you very much, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Is there anyone, as I already noted, we got a written comment on this, lengthy. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this topic about this new traffic control order? No, going once, going twice, gone. Okay, online, is there anyone that would like to make a public comment about this traffic control order? Seeing no one, I'm going to close public comment and move on to hopefully getting this approved. So I'm looking for a recommendation, I'm looking for a motion.
I move to approve traffic control order 2501 that restricts parking in the area that is 55 feet east of the driveway of 507 West Main Street.
Support?
Okay, we have a motion properly supported. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Unanimous. I think my ears heard it properly, so motion
Thank you very
passes.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. All right, let me get this one passed. That's the meeting. I don't need to look at those. Okay, so now we're going to now I don't have a printed of each of them. I did a block copy to put them into Word. So can somebody, let me just get each of these. We're going to the, let me just get the correct characterization, board and commission appointments. So first, which would you like to deal with first?
We close the conversation on Brownfield and then we can discuss the others.
Yeah, so let's do, okay, so Brownfield first.
And then I'm fine if you just want to go in the order.
Okay, and then we can go from there. All right,
And I'm
so,
only suggesting that because I was halfway into my.
well, and that has, I think, good opportunity for making an amendment, just so we've got it accurate, both in terms of the applicant service and moving forward when we refer back to this. Okay, so this will be the Brownfield redevelopment appointment. It's in as council communication BRA appointment 2025. The subject is appoint to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. Let me get my notes as well. Pull this one, so it's because I didn't have a printout of that. So I move over. Let's try continuing. Okay. Well, do you want to go from top to bottom? Let's see. So it says that there are three, first is, let's start background analysis, because we're going to go through, I was just picking the highlight. Okay, so the background analysis says there are 3 Board of Zoning Appeals regular terms expiring with expiring terms are regular BZA regular members, Moroz, Ott, and Callahan. However,
BZA or?
oh, I'm sorry. Oh my God. I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. I swore. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to use the name of God in vain. I apologize. So Brownfield. So the first, let's go to, let me get that one. I'm sorry. I'm just like, we didn't have that part printed. So, and I've got my notes. So this is this, let me find my notes so I can make it easier. Brownfield. So the key in this is getting down to, so it's the background is accurate. It's they're appointed by the mayor subject to approval of city council. So we're beyond all that. So it is the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority with an expiring term. So it was basically his term on BRA was tie-barred, that's a horrible term. It was contingent on his being on planning. So his membership was set to expire dependent on what happened in planning. So is it technically an expiring term if that's what's happened? I think so. I think we can still call it an expiring term, even though it's different than the normal term of use. And he did interview with, this is Mr. Hay, he did, and to fill the vacancy. The board and selection committee was pleased to interview that qualified candidate on June 2nd. That's accurate. And it also, mayor chose to reappoint Mr. Hay, and I also concurred with the decision. So all of that upper part is fine. Then this is, in this particular item, is the way this would normally have been written is there would have been a minor thing in background and analysis that just briefly disclosed that he was previously on because of his serving on the planning commission. This would have been in background, and that this consideration is for a regular term, right? For a full, not associated with his thing. But the only place it even hints at it is when you get into the first bullet. Traditionally, the bullets that are under there, which you've seen many times in what comes before you, it is given what is the basis for them being recommended? What's their background, skills, experience, and it's there. But this is where it says first appointed. So like the background's the first bullet. Is that making sense? So a member of the Planning Commission, Brownfield Authority with in-depth knowledge and involvement in matters but before currently, that is true. But then he was first appointed, this is where we get it. He was first appointed to Planning Commission to fill he was first appointed because the point is if we want to add a sentence, he was first appointed to fill an unexpired planning commission term, and then he was subsequently appointed to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, and I actually
Do we
have
just need to say first appointed to fill a planning commissioner's term on February 18th. And we say to fill an unexpired term vacancy on, oh, I see, on planning commission, but
Well, you're correct. It is redundant. It would be first appointed in February. Should be first appointed to distinguish. We're trying to make 2 points. He was first appointed to Planning Commission on February 18, 2020 to fill a vacancy on planning, right? For an unexpired term. So an unexpired term vacancy is, can you think of something? I
think that says it. I think.
it's just awkward, but we'll say it. Okay. It would be, so he was appointed based on his planning commission membership on March 21st, 2022 by city council.
Okay.
So are you doing edits on this?
I'm just making notes.
Okay, good. So what, do we want to just add a sentence, just because what happens is it's following that, it's additional background, okay? So so again, if you want to keep the sentence structure, he was first appointed on March 21st, 2022 to serve on the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority as an ex officio member from the Planning Commission. Is that our lawyer's not? Yes, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, this really isn't even part of the motion anyway. This
Yeah.
background information stuff.
Well, correct. So this will be edited by the clerk for the record.
I mean, as long as our city attorney has no issue with it, I'm fine adding that sentence and then moving forward.
If it doesn't matter.
And then the Tadam, which for future use, because this was buried in the March 2022 minutes, I don't think at least my conversation, this was early on in April, they were unaware that he was an ex officio member. Does that make sense?
The planning commission was unaware?
No, our clerk was unaware.
Oh.
Yeah. So if somebody pulls this up, they're able to see that we separated. This is the only place we'll see it. Okay. So we've added a second sentence under that first bullet. And then the last would be, this appointment is for a full term unrelated to his position on Planning Commission. It's crude, but at least it documents it.
And that he's being appointed directly by this body, recommendation of the mayor, this body to the ERA. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's when we get down to here. So appointment recommendation is the mayor requests that the city council support his addition. I would just to keep it clean, appoint David Hay to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority because it's a clean, separate one. That's the only thing I would do. And we describe up there. So clerk, do you have enough going for adding, we're keeping that one sentence in the first, well, there's now 4 sentences in the second bullet, because it's too difficult to move it to what would be background. So you have the current first appointed, there will be next sentence will be the first appointed March, what did I say, 21st, 2022, to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority as an ex officio member from Planning Commission. And then last would be that this appointment is for a full term unrelated to his membership on planning. Would you?
Yes,
Okay.
that's what my notes.
So for the record, the permanent document will reflect those things. And then the last would be under appointment recommendation. The mayor requests that city council support his addition to appoint David Hay. So it's just clean. And with those amendments, I'm looking for a motion to approve them.
I am comfortable making that motion if the rest of the group is. I move to approve the appointment of David Hay to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, term ending July 1st, 2028.
I'll support it.
Okay, we have a motion properly supported. Who wants to approve it, say yes.
Do we need a public comment on this?
Oh, gosh, yes. Sorry about that. Yes. Any public comment? On
Unless
this?
it's David Hay trying to get out of it.
Right, poor David.
Didn't let him know. So any public comment on this Brownfield Redevelopment Authority appointment? On here, hopefully we're gonna go online. Anyone, same online? Anyone would like to make a comment? Okay, I'm going to close public comment. Thank you very much for reminding me. Sorry, I wasn't trying to exclude public comment. And looking for, believe the motion was in.
I made the motion.
Oh, we have a
Laura
motion.
seconded.
So we're now going to go back. We do have a motion properly supported. I thought we had to do it again. Okay, now any discussion? Okay, so, everyone that supports this, motion, say yes?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm a yes, so, motion passes. Okay, where do we go next?
Station.
Yeah, let me get my, so next we're gonna go to beautification. I've got to get my, let me get my out of the way here.
And I'm at those meetings and in here, the new person, Andrew, he did have he was interviewed. And then Steve Ott and Carol Panko were talked to with the mayor on the phone, and they've been around, a long time. I do know that they wanted to do those in our last meeting. We did talk about it. So if you have other things, go for it.
Okay, so this is from the Board and Commission Selection Committee. So this is where the decisions are made there and then recommendations come in on this. So I fully expect that just as was just stated, that it will just be delightful to have Carol and Steve continue on the Beautification Commission, right? But there was no application submitted. They were not interviewed. The mayor did not alert us that he had talked to them after the meeting, nor that he would doing it after them. There was no record of that happening. There was no motion to approve this at our Board and Commission Selection Committee meeting. And I'm going to back up one moment from this. Is that you can talk about what the process has been. Some of it are longstanding, some that were the mayor and I agreed to, and basically with the mayor's leadership, that changed in November of 2021. When for the first time in a long time, the mayor was on this, which I fully supported. And then I was also appointed. So the way it works is that you schedule, so you apply and you interview. That was different than what had been done before. My understanding, our understanding was that if you were a new applicant that had not previously served, you were interviewed. But if you were coming for a reappointment, you did not have to interview. You just were reappointed. That's the way it was. So that was a significant shift. And what that led to, in a good way, although it's dropped off a bit, is we had a lot of applicants, right? Because it was just this, and there's been cases where we have not reappointed someone, but most cases we have. So because it just made sense. But in this particular case, this did not. And then also, we get a list, this happens usually several weeks before before we schedule a meeting, is the clerk's office gets dates from the mayor and I of when we're available to meet. Typically, we offer 2 dates. We offer one date as a reserve. We hope we can interview everyone on a certain day, right? We allow 15 minutes for an interview. We've had the ones that went several hours, but it is not uncommon that we have to have a second interview date time for 2 reasons. One is there's just too many to do in one sitting that goes on for more than a few hours. And the other is that, as you would expect, not everyone can meet, like in this case, June 2nd between 9 and noon. They have other things, they're out of town, they have other commitments, they can't get off work. And so it has always been standard practice that the clerk has a second date in reserve. So like I always give a second date or even a third date, if one doesn't work. So if when the clerk sends out the request for them being available for those meetings and they say no, they then have an alternate, right? So they wait to get the responses and then see and then do that. And we've actually sometimes even had to have a third meeting. But usually that's for deliberation, because the others were too full. In this case, I offered multiple dates and was informed that there was only one date that was going to be offered to applicants. And I was quite surprised. Like, I understand you don't offer that first time, but you always got one in your pocket for those that can't make it. I was not informed beforehand, nor was there any discussion during the meeting that there were applicants that were unable to make that interview. It wasn't that they couldn't make an interview, they could, which is how it was when we get to that, how it was stated, is that they just couldn't make that interview. So there was no accommodation. Now, we have, in fact, it's only for beautification. We have on a couple occasions had beautification commission members that just were unable to make any time. They could have been gone out of town for extended periods of time. And so the way that was handled in the past is before the meeting, we'd know that before the meeting. One example was like Diane Pitaway, the commissioner was contacted. She was asked, is this, they're not available. Are you comfortable with these appointments? Of course, she was delighted. And so we had that in the record. We noted it in the communication and we moved forward with it. So we've already had a process. This was out of the blue, that it was not disclosed at the meeting. I have no idea if the mayor talked before or after, because I just saw this on, when I opened the packet to prepare for this meeting, which was yesterday. So that gives you a little background. So what we have is, it isn't as stated that the board and commission selection committee agreed to this process or vote, it was, and now we can come back to council and say, if it's a mayoral appointment, he can just call him, get an okay, and he can have a letter coming in under him. But that requires us to, as a council, to agree. And I have no idea why things went south this time, but they did. So, and without any disclosure during our June 2nd meeting. So, this is not about not supporting them, but how do we know that the mayor, according to this, the mayor, does it say that how does it describe it in here?
Andrew was interviewed. Carol and Steve confirmed their interest in being considered in reappointment, but were unable to attend an interview. Mayor Turnbull spoke with Carol and Steve on the phone.
So, but this does not come from the board and committees. Do you see what I'm saying? It just does not. So, so what, I don't know, do we just want to, take this on its merit? This letter doesn't, I don't know how we want to do it, because the board and commission did not do it. We had found workarounds for this in the past. The mayor did not follow this at that time. I don't know when he notified the clerk or the deputy clerk, but I was not notified at all.
As a city council rep, like their liaison, I definitely think, I know that this is kosher. I'm not saying all commissions are going to be like this, but the beautification commission, I mean, Andrew's come to, every meeting and he was interviewed, and Steve Ott Carol Payne Cow since
Oh, yeah.
2018.
And in fact, I think she was one we made an exception for last time. You know what I mean? And did it as the way I described it, Laura?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So is the process codified somewhere?
Yeah.
Is it based on the mayor as a matter of his preference held it this way? Because it used to be, he said that he did not re-interview people at all. They just were reappointed. And then at one point it makes people go back and basically put your hand back up and interview again. Has that even been codified, or is this just the mayor's selection and there's a process in which the mayor runs?
Yes, so the process, so this is all set forth within the Beautification Commission Articles of Organization that allowed that the mayor makes the recommendation subject to approval of council. And it really is at the discretion of the mayor how he goes about the process. Nothing is required. There's no
So,
codified requirement for a certain number of interviews or anything of that nature.
so you're correct that if you look at any of the policies and procedures, whether it be bylaws, most of the cases it's bylaws. I think they use a different word for, because it's quite old in the planning. That's not about this. This is about the board and selection committee has for a very long time been a standing committee. So you're correct. If we want to get rid of the board commission selection committee completely, then we make that decision as a council. We will get to another one when it says that the selection committee is appointed by the council. It's right in the charter. If we have standing committees, it's council. And so it's always been done this way. And that's the process. And it is, so a process and procedure, there is nothing written or described. This is, nor has there ever been, but this is the way it was done a certain way. Now, we certainly kept certain, we didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We did keep many of the process and procedures that had been in place for a long time. But this is how, if we're going to change that, and what was an irony to me is that the mayor for a long time didn't even serve on the board and commission selection committee. And I thought that was, since so many appointments are a mayoral decision subject to city council approval, that he certainly should sit on that commission, and he hadn't been heretofore. Does that,
No, but I'm just saying, but I'm concerned that if the mayor has an appointment and has that right, and then council can set up a commission that makes the appointments, and then the mayor doesn't get his ability to appoint because council has to go back and undo a commission, then it's taking away his
no,
ability.
this is not.
But if he has the ability to make the appointment, he has the ability to make the appointment.
No, so the appointment recommendation, the mayor does it. And then generally it's written above that it was just like it was for years, whoever was on the board and commission selection committee, because for example, it was Marilyn Price and Patrick Giza before the two of us. So they weren't doing they were just making that recommendation, whether it was, and now, of course, some of these are city council appointment that we're talking about mayoral. And as you, to my point, if you can imagine, so, but this isn't, but we can have a decision that we can approve or not approve this. But the point is, in this one, this didn't come from the board and commission selection committee, which is the normal process.
But does it have to come from the board and commission? Does it come from the mayor? That's what I'm not getting at. I'm not understanding.
Then what do we have a board and commission selection committee for?
But if it's just a matter of convenience, if the mayor wasn't on the board and commission selection, but he had that process, they make a recommendation, he could accept it or not, or move it forward to council. He still gets the recommendation and then council just has to vote up or down, right? I mean, am I missing? I'm just trying to figure out the right process here.
As far as the process that's outlined in the articles of organization, these two candidates are ready to move forward tonight properly. It's inconsistent with the history that the pro tem referenced, but it's consistent with the articles of organization if the board is comfortable. If the council is comfortable.
So what we can do is we can remove this completely because this doesn't apply anymore. So this memo does not apply, but all so we can read into the record what we need.
Because it's really just the appointment.
It only applies for one of the three.
It says appointment recommendation, recommended motion. Those are the really salient issues, right? That it's the mayor makes a recommendation of a person or people, and then council makes a move to accept it or not, right? Vote it down.
But this cannot, this didn't come from the board and
I got you.
commission.
So you're saying it has to be, yes, you're saying the board and commission selection committee portion should be struck from that memo because it.
And that point, because I don't think we can go back, we can't go back and remove something from a packet. So it will need to be noted in the minutes that the council communication in the packet was not used, and I'm fine moving forward if we do it that way.
It seems fair.
So I can take a stab at this for the three, to read, just to do a summary. So for appointment to the Beautification Commission, the commission consists of 9 to 18 members. There are currently 8 serving members with 2 terms expiring for Carol Pankow and Steve Ott. And then there's also there, but there are 3 applicants total. Andrew Heldrich, Stephen Ott, and Carol Panko. Can we just leave it at that and not? Okay.
I
And-
think so.
Okay,
And then you're,
Right, those are-
then you're listing their credentials still, right? That stuff stays.
so, yeah, so for, when we're gonna go in terms of appointment recommendation, Mayor Turnbull requests that city council support his decision to appoint Andrew Heldrich and reappoint Carol Panko. Isn't it? Am I? So I think the what's written in this letter is excludes Steve Ott. I think I'm reading from what's there. So I'm gonna start that over because do you see in your packet, it doesn't mention Steve Ott?
Nice.
He's supposed to be the one.
Yeah.
I see Steve.
He's on
Fire
the-
chief in the,
No, under the recommended motion.
The motion's just Andrew and
yeah,
Carol.
we can add him.
Yeah, so I just want to let you know, I'm modifying the motion that was suggested because it doesn't include there I said, there are
Yeah.
many more things that are problematic here.
That is a.
Yes, so, I'm just read this aloud, is the appointment I'm gonna do it again, a rewind. Appointment recommendation, Mayor Turnbull requests that city council support his decision to appoint Andrew Heldrich and reappoint Carol Panko and Steve Ott to the Beautification Commission. All terms end June 30th, 2028.
Support?
Oh, did I make that motion?
Is that your motion or is?
Can I make a motion? Okay,
Yep.
let that be the motion. Okay,
I support it.
so we have, not way around the block, but we have a motion properly supported. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so motion, unanimous motion passes. Okay. So let's go to BZA. And it also should be noted in the record prior to that, that the packet item communication was not used. You know, I mean, if somebody looks in the packet, they'll think, because we now have very skinny minutes, they'll think that that was the appointment and it was not. So this was our own. Okay. It's going to go to Board of Zoning Appeals. Is that where we want to go next? Let's go there. Okay. So the Board of Zoning Appeals, the first is, if we go to the three Board of Zoning Appeals, regular terms expire July 21st, 2025. Expiring terms are for regular BZA regular members, and there's 3 of them, that's correct. But in addition, which was also discussed, is that we also have BZA alternate members, and we've had a long-term vacancy in those, which Councilmember Krentz knows painfully well because he has to sit in. And that is not mentioned. So we also had, and we also that on 4 BZA, we actually have 4 applicants for BZA. And we're going to go through, but we had Tom Morose and John Callahan were interviewed. That was for reappointment. Steve Ott, same issue before. Steve Ott couldn't make that interview date, and he was not given an option where he could come in and interview. So he was not interviewed. And then also we had the Andrew Heldrich, what also had expressed an interest in the board BZA. Not only that, but on his application, which unfortunately you don't have because they're not attached, is he expressly said that he was interested, he thought that the BZA was the best fit. but he said, I'll serve wherever you want. Like, if you want me on beautification, planning, BZA, but he wrote only to BZA. And he was, just unfamiliar, but he thought, given his background in data analytics, he was about. So I don't know how we address that, do that, but so we've got the three, right? The three regular members, all with expiring terms. Steve Ott was not interviewed. The other two were. So, and of course, if, there was no workaround or there was no even knowledge that about the Steve Ott situation. So there was nothing we could do during that meeting, right? To say that, we can move on that. So the motion from the Board and Commission Selection Committee unfortunately did not have Steve Ott, but that was by design, which wasn't an omission, an error. And then we have the BZA alternate positions also. But the mayor opted not to appoint Mr. Heldrich to the BZA as an alternate. He did not want to do it. So he was not appointed. The two we did recommend Tom and John to move forward with that reappointment. And then it's, getting to the third person, that was because say it differently. And it also says, I'll get to the other, it says we were pleased to interview 3 qualified candidates. We did not. That's in there as well. Do you see where it's?
You only interviewed 2?
We only interviewed 2. We did not interview 3. We interviewed 3 qualified candidates, but not those 3. We interviewed Tom Rose.
So Andrew actually did interview for BZA.
Yes.
But and beautification.
Oh, yeah. So, and that is not unusual.
not
They
meaning
see, and in fact, he said this, yeah, I saw the notice in the city news. I want to get involved. This is my first time doing something. Of course, and he's great. I'm so excited that he wants to join. And so, so of course we discussed, because he wrote to on his application about BZA seems like a good fit, a good place to start. Sounded great, background with data analytics, blah, blah, blah. But so he was interviewed as well. So we had 3 interviews. It was just 3 interviews for Tom, John, and Andrew. And so this is just you can see where this is just a tough one. So but like I said, for Andrew, the mayor did not want to recommend him for this. And this is, I think, isn't it? This is a city council one, I believe. City council appoints. This isn't a mayoral, appointment with support, with approval of council. This is a city council one. So that's where we stand on this. So I'm not quite sure how to modify this hot mess. And just for the record, I would fully support Steve Ott being reappointed. He's been an excellent BZA member, so it is not about that. It's just, coming out of, as the meeting would reflect from June 2nd, it just didn't happen. So, and nor did we know, was it discussed at the meeting that we could easily do a workaround to that, as we had to do previously, in other situations. So any suggestions on how we?
I mean, I guess just from a city council appointment standpoint, I appreciate Andrew's passion. Obviously, we've got cleanup here. I do see a logic in not having him be selected for beautification, BZA, and planning.
Oh, yeah.
As I know, his name has been thrown into all 3. So
Oh, he opted to all 3.
Right. I know.
Yeah.
Which is totally within, and I appreciate that. I'm just, as we think through the fact that if, city council's perspective on who we want to be on, I can see a justification for the 3 that are noted. I think we would need to, if there is agreement that these are the right three. I just think we would need to clean it up because we can't state we were pleased to interview three qualified candidates on June 2nd and not name the same three. I think we would need to name Andrew as one of those, highlight that he applied and that Tom, Steve, and John would be the ones selected
Sure.
if that's the route this
Yeah,
group
well,
chooses to go.
we had 4 qualified applicants, is that correct? And we interviewed 3 of
Yeah.
4 qualified applicants.
Yep, that seems like an appropriate fix there. Do you have concerns as the member of appointments and the fact that Steve Ott was not interviewed?
I would be the biggest cheerleader for Steve Ott being reappointed. It is just, again, like, what the heck? Right, what's here, what's not here? It just a mess.
Andrew is the liaison for BZA. Any feedback or perspective in terms
No.
of?
All 3 of these candidates, Tom, Steve, and John, are great citizens. They give back, they give of their time, they make the city a better place. They work through each case with diligence. They show up, which, you know, is sometimes a problem on BZA, that regular standing members and alternates refuse to show up or don't show up. So these 3 are leaders on BZA. I would be fully in support of them coming in and returning. Now, my question, Tony, would be to you. What more do we need other than a council approval? And now I know the provenance of the background needs to get tightened up and cleaned up. That sounds more.
There's process improvement opportunities.
Yeah, there's process improvement. That's fine, but in terms of what we're doing tonight, this group, what's in our purview is this is council approval on candidates, correct?
Yeah, that's, the pro tem is correct. This is a council determination under the Zoning Enabling Act. And so,
Right.
again, none of the process is codified. It sounds like there are process points that could be cleaned up, but if you want.
That can be outside of these 4 walls tonight.
Absolutely.
Exactly, if you want to move forward.
Totally fine. So I would just voice to council here that I'm personally, as liaison of BZA and have been for a while, very comfortable with them. They represent the city with grace and dignity, and they are level-handed, and I have absolutely no problem carrying them through. The process part of this and what comes to us can be handled outside of here, in my opinion, based on comments from tonight.
And up until this point, this process has worked well, and we found workarounds to be respectful of applicants. So this is an anomaly. One other thing I will mention, and this is known both by the deputy clerk and the clerk, and it was discussed at the meeting, is what has been, and it's basically Brian's had me do, which I am fine, is that since day one, which would have been 3rd week in December of 2021, is Brian. So Diane Massa and I worked out a template because there was no like standard for, you know what I mean? Like, okay, here's what you can put in, recognize the mayor's authority to make these, which wasn't always recognized in the template. So as time was, so we built up these templates for each of these commissions that could be filled in and done. And so, and then what has always, you know, Diane Massa, Mike Smith, Evan, and then this was the first time with our new clerk, and it was just like, okay, you've got templates to work with, and then the drafts are sent and they're distributed to me. And then, you know, just half the time they're okay, a couple have to be, you know, just it's cleanup. And so you have not seen things come before you. There's more going on here because that process, which was agreed to by everyone at that meeting, June 2nd, was bypassed as well. So there is cleanup to do, I think we need, right? But there's reason that this has, after 3.5 years, came to a crescendo today. And I think that could have avoided a lot of this. So we, one, I think it does need to be noted that there, you know, we had, the background is we have 3, I'm just going to take a stab at this because I think this is another one that has to be pulled off from the selection committee and we just do it here.
Yep.
So for background, we have 3 Board of Zoning Appeals regular terms that are expiring. And then we also have Board of Zoning Appeals vacancies for alternate positions. So that's the background. There were 4 applicants for these terms, both regular and alternate. And are we going to go with the 3? Or are we going to appoint the alternate? Are we going to go with? Are we going to appoint an alternate, or are we going to just stay with? I'm just asking because that'll be something.
I would suggest we go with 3 at this stage.
Okay.
And if
I
appointment
just
wants to
wanted to,
come
I
back
just
with
wanted to,
another.
we're doing
Yeah.
this on the fly, so
Yep.
does that,
Andrew, are you aligned with that as a liaison?
We are in desperate need of alternates. So
I reckon.
I do not think we're in a position to reject them, but tonight may not be the night.
well, this is, for the record, this is the 3rd alternate that the mayor has not wanted to appoint.
Do we know if Andrew wants to be an alternate though, given he has now been selected for other committees and commissions? Because that's my hesitation is I don't want to make a call
It's a lot.
here without confirming that as someone who's.
This
not-
is just a full disclosure.
No, it's a very valid discussion. I would be hesitant to name him as an alternate unless we have confirmed that. And I don't believe we have anyone here who has.
And I think that's fair. And I would not even have thought it would be appropriate to call him before,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
And I'm okay with that. I'm saying at some point we do, this group does need to be fully staffed.
No, and that's fair. And Councilmember Kern.
So, so at this time, city council would like to reappoint the 3 regular members of the Board of Zoning Appeals. And that would be Tom Morose, Steve Ott, and John Callahan. I'm going to make one other comment before, if I think it can be that simple, right? But I want to make one other comment. You'll notice, see the sentence that there's the selection committee. Do you see that where it begins as appointed by the mayor?
Yep.
Okay. That sentence has never appeared in anything you've seen in 3.5 years. So I just want it on the record, under charter, any standing committee of city council, the members of those, which need 2 members of council, can't be more, right? Obviously, we have 3 standing committees. Those committees appointments are made with consent with all of council. It is not a mayoral.
Should we just strike that section? So it says the selection committee was pleased. to
Well,
interview.
we've got to scrap the whole thing because it's not coming from here anyway. So, I think we could just go with our appointment recommendation. Right, but I just wanted to make sure for the record, because that was stunning to me because I don't know where that showed up from. Yeah, so. So do we just, so it could be as simple as city council moves to reappoint Tom Morose, Steve Ott, and John Callahan to the Board of Zoning Appeals as regular members with terms expiring. Didn't say terms expiring. Did it?
Ending
Yeah, terms ending
Oh.
July 1.
Is it? Okay. Like I said, not having term ending July 1st, 2028, and I think we should include that. So I guess I've now made another cobbled motion.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion properly supported. Thank you, John. Everyone in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, no? So I'm a yes. So motion passes unanimously, and thank you. So where are we going next?
I think it's
GC,
the
last one.
planning commission is the last one.
Yeah, okay. My notes. I don't have, hold on, where's I've got to find mine. Yeah, let me just. That background, board, brownfield. Oh, I found it. I'm tearing it apart because it wasn't used for that purpose. Thank you, George. And we don't get printouts of the consent agenda, and it's just too cumbersome here to rely on that. Okay, we're gonna go to planning. So this is, so there are 3 planning commission terms expiring at the end of this month. And so this is why we need to take this action. And it said, let's see, the city council, so we have 5 qualified planning commission. Says we have 5, but we don't have, we don't have 5. So it says in the document, we have 5 qualified applicants. We do not. We had 4 that were interested. Okay. So I'm just following from what's in. Okay, now here's where it gets dicey, and the need to, because this is the first time this has happened. This was discussed how this would be handled when we had the June 2nd meeting, and obviously it didn't go that way. So as you've commonly seen is that it'll say in there, because that's why there's a selection committee, whether or not that if it's a mayoral, if it's all of council, it's due the mayor and I agree, on this recommendation. If it's a mayoral oral recommendation with approval of council, it notes that I concurred with the decision, and that's pretty standard, right? But in this case, I concurred with the mayor's decision for Paul DeBono and David Hay, but I did not agree, and it's on the record of the reasons why, of Andrew Heldridge. Nothing against Andrew Heldridge at all. He was, as he had expressed, we already talked about BZA, already, decision on beautification, and he was certainly a qualified candidate and welcome, his interest. But between him and Jeff Gaines, the most qualified candidate was very clear. So now we have a split. This is a case where I did not, it says here, Mayor Pro Tem Morosky Brown concurred with the mayor's decision. I don't know how that ever came to us like that. It was even discussed, the delicacy of this communication at the meeting after the decisions, the mayor made his decisions. So now we have this. So on this, that's a challenge. There's, just also, just as bad. So
We can fix it by saying Mayor Pro Tem Morosky Brown concurred with the mayor's selection of DeBono and Hay, and period. And then it's inferred that, then that fixes that one thing, right? Because you're saying that's inaccurate.
that would be,
Yeah.
we could do that.
Right.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Morosky concurred with the mayor's decision for Paul DeBono and David Hay.
Yep.
Right? Is that right where you
Yep.
want? Okay. So that, and also we need to, if we want to go with this, because that would be, this was discussed at the board and commission selection. So the others where we had to pull it out, if we get those edits in there, the other is we should change just above where it says was pleased to interview 5 qualified, it's 4. So in terms of, that's a scribble edit. It's obvious from the sentence itself. And then make the change to that second sentence. And I guess in this situation is that this particular communication is amended will need to be attached to our minutes for the record. I do think it's concerning, and even the mayor did that. The reason somebody's appointed is they bring a new perspective with the young family oriented views. Even when that was spoken at the meeting, the mayor shortly said, "Oh, I probably shouldn't have said that." There were 2 reasons that he gave. I'm just gonna, because they're not here. 2 reasons the mayor gave. One was diversity. Diversity, and characterize diversity. And the second is that he wanted to keep the planning commission team together until the Downs development was done. And now he wanted, fresh members on the board. So those, so anyway, so
I just got a question right here and I wanted to just ask the city attorney when you're done, I'll ask the question. Go ahead.
no, you can.
Okay. He asked me, Andrew asked if this is the same appointment where the mayor makes the appointment and is it a council confirmation or how does this one work as a planning commission?
Yeah, so this is under the Planning Enabling Act, and I think that this one is the mayoral appointment subject to approval of council.
That's correct. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
only BZA is council.
Of what we've dealt with tonight, that's correct,
Got it.
yeah.
Yeah. There is a whole spreadsheet of every commission and board.
Yeah, that was a simple.
Yeah, and they're all,
That whole spreadsheet.
and just when you think one makes sense, you're like, oh, wait, but that one, you know what I mean? And that's all by state law. Yeah, all of these are by state law. So in this case, the recommended motion stands. Right? I mean, there's no change to the recommended motion. And we noted 2 edits, the 5 to the 4, and then as George had described, clerk, were you able to get those?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, all right. So, and we'll leave the young family oriented views, but it's worrisome that goes on the record when there were other things that were reasonable and, that the mayor had brought up. So, yes, because he did describe other things, but it is what it is. So we have a recommended motion, we have a motion recommended with amendments from what's in amended document, but the motion stands as it is in the current document. I will now ask, I forgot again, any public comment on this? No public comment. Any online public comment on the topic of planning commission appointment? Yeah, let it be noted that at this, when this was still in the consent agenda, at the beginning of this meeting, there was a comment made related to this. So, all right. So would somebody like to make the motion? Oh, public comment closed.
Yep. And nothing online?
Online.
Is there anyone? Oh, I thought I asked online.
Sure.
Yeah,
There's no one online at this time.
Thank you.
There are 25 viewers, but nobody in the phone pool.
Okay.
Oh, welcome to the circus. Okay, so 25. All right, so looking
Well,
for
as
a
a
motion.
planning alum, I'd love to make a motion here. So I move to approve the appointment of reappointment of Paul DeBono and David Hay and the appointment of Andrew Heldrick to the Planning Commission, terms ending June 30th, 2028.
Support?
So we have a motion properly supported. And this, all in favor say yes,
Yes.
Yes.
and I'm a no. All right, I think that we are now, and thank you for everyone both here and online for going through this. You see, this was public policy in action in all its messiness, and thank you very much. So we next go to, we're going to council communications.
Gonna kick it off. All right, I can kick it off. I've got 2 items. First, the latest on the Good News Northville front. I would like to invite all of you next Tuesday morning to Allen Terrace. A new gazebo which has, by the way, been donated by Michelle Lucier. Will be dedicated for the use of our residents. I can tell you there is a lot of enthusiasm surrounding that, and I greatly appreciate Michelle and her contribution to our residents. I don't know if Laura, you want to speak to, but Laura and I will also be doing coffee with council. That will be on, let me make sure I get the date right because it got moved, but this coming Wednesday, we moved it. That was my June 18th at 2 p.m. at Sweet Brew Cafe. And then the last item that I wanted to quickly address here is that, as many of you know, both sides rested last week on a lawsuit surrounding our street closures. As the dust begins to settle, I would like to request that even if the city is victorious, we made a commitment to reassess the street closures, including public and business support. These decisions need to not be rooted in emotion or pride, but in data. And so I think, and I will say I fully support starting to gather that information so that when the season comes to an end, we are able to make an educated decision, recognizing all aspects in terms of options and considerations going forward. So would just appreciate us starting that process and doing it in a thoughtful manner.
Thank you, John.
Okay. Couple things for me. Just a big thank you to Amy Prevost. She's our chair for the Northville Youth Network. If you do anything with Northville Youth Network, she is an absolute godsend to this community. Excuse me. But she's been nominated for Michigan Honors Award in Administration. So that's a big deal. So well deserved on her part. And I want to thank everybody who raised their hand and is going to serve in the community on all the boards that we appointed to tonight. And then also, I co-sign on what Councilmember Carter said. I did call for something similar to this at the end of last year, that we do set up a quantifiable review with getting more feedback so that we can A, do the right thing for downtown, but B, also have a public review and understanding of how we got to that conclusion. So I'm in full support, and we committed to that years ago that we should be periodically reviewing that decision to make sure we're doing the right thing. So I look forward to doing that at some point as we kind of stand that up. That's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, there were several different information, quite a few different information points that went into that. So one is data that's already collected, and that would be public safety issues. So the most difficult is how do we go about gathering, at this point, to get a broad-based piece of community support. We know we cannot do it by putting it on a ballot. We already know that is not allowed.
Yep.
So what are other mechanisms that we have? And I think it's a separate effort in terms of how do you reach out to business owners, building owners, on that side of it versus resident population. And so that'll be a bit of a challenge, but I fully support it. And the other, in terms of public safety aspects, I know from the chief would always let us know if something was terribly spiking, right? But we can also then, have that data once again. It's already there. It's already collected. And then I put it in an Excel sheet, and then I let Andrew do his magic on it. So,
Quantifiable over.
yes. And then there are others as well, if you go through the whole list of things consideration, but I think that is a start and certainly a good endpoint to think about it, later this year. And of course, it's all dependent. We don't know.
Yep.
What's going to happen with the judge. So, all right. So on that, I just have two things. One is, this would be following up. It's not related, but it's related. We've got the traffic control measure and brought up the F&B. I think we need to look at that. I had a couple of conversations on specific items like the traffic light with George previously. I think we need to, take a look and say, where are we at with those F&V recommendations? What are things that we need to do? Have we done, that we can do, we need to do, and where are we at with that? And then the other is that that was the pedestrian safety study that was in our packet, that one excerpt. The other, I would say also, is we put together the city administration did, is that where residential streets could petition the city to have their street looked at for that remediation. To my knowledge, we have not received one yet. So, I don't know if there's an awareness of that. And that is a process. And then particular week, if we need to reach out two streets that are in the F&V report that they make recommendations, you know, as examples that we could begin, not our action, because one thing that was clear on that from the traffic engineers was that, you know, to do anything for, you know, traffic management on a street, and I'm not talking about putting up a speed sign, where we're actually doing some infrastructure changes, is that you need to have the input and support from the people on that street that that's a remedy they're comfortable with. So, so I support that. The other, and this is sort of an off the wall, but I was really delighted in our consent agenda that there is an event going to be in late July. It's going to be a pet adoption with a food truck for a few hours in the afternoon. And I thought, how great. But what happens each time? So I hope to see more activation of this beautiful green space here. It's just small, but it's available, it's accessible, easy to walk around. And every time we refer to it, it's that green space behind the behind City Hall, or it's the green space behind next to the library. And it's not a park in our park system. And I'm just wondering, because we could do this by resolution in the future, in near future, hopefully, is call it something. Like just say by Leslie, we're going to call it the city green or whatever, so that when we're referring to it isn't, you know, that grass out back, which is where we're at now. So that is just a thought to name it. We don't want to use the term park. We can't use the term commons, or I don't think we should, because that's now associated with farmers market. So I was just throwing city green out there because it's just simple, but you know, just food for thought. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts of other than the lawn behind City Hall.
With the horse in it.
Totem town.
Yeah, we could have called it the, you know, elm, but the elm's gone and now. Yeah. Anyway, it was just a throw an idea out there, and it sparked my interest when I was reading the consent agenda and noticed it was sort of, yeah, that place back there. Because we do not have a name for that space. So on that, George?
Yep, just one item, which is to share that we have a Coffee with Council series starting again. Our first one is June 18th, so this Wednesday at 2 to 3 p.m. at Sweet Brew and Spice, so right across from City Hall here. It will be John Carter and Laura Janetti and myself.
It was much smoother than when I stumbled through it on the rescheduled date, so I appreciate that, George.
Come join us for coffee and conversations, questions about the city. And then there will be 3 additional dates. We're still trying to nail down. I think we have dates, but we haven't nailed down locations yet. So that's why. So as we get closer, we'll set a location. It'll be somewhere convenient in the downtown. Just don't have locations yet, but all the council members obviously will get a chance to have 2 sessions per the way the schedule works. So look forward to that, and hopefully we'll see folks this Wednesday.
Laura and I are the most fun, though. I think we can all agree with that.
Yeah, everyone's fun. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay. Yeah, and just my final closing is to thank everyone for putting up with us tonight, and I can't say it any simpler than that. So, and thank you for attending, those in the audience and those that were online, either for the whole duration or for part of it. So thank you very much. It is an honor serving this city, and thank you. So on that, am I looking for a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support?
Yeah, we have a motion properly supported. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
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 There you go.